All right. Hey, what's going on, guys? A little bit of a, I'm just gonna go ahead and let you know right off the bat. It's gonna be a different dugout talk today. Unfortunately, uh, my big butt slept right through my alarm. We had plans of recording earlier than usual today, and that was on me. I didn't end up waking up until like noon. I don't know what was up with me. Um, Unfortunately, Steven had some stuff he had to take care of, hence why we were going to record earlier. And so, the rest of his day was booked. So I kind of threw together some things to do. I wanted to make sure I got a video out to you guys today. So uh, here it is. You're kind of stuck with me for right now. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and jump into our day in history. 100 years ago today, 1921, the New York Yankees purchased some land in the West Bronx for $675,000. That land was going to be used for the site of their first real stadium. They had played the last 10 years at Polo Grounds, and they expected to name the stadium Yankee Stadium after the team name. So there's that. 1921, they bought the land that would eventually host a, a long time of Yankee history, a lot of Yankee history. A lot of ups and a few downs were had there. Some of the best players of all time saw time playing either with the Yankees or against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. It was host of some really great baseball history. It was host of some really great Yankee teams in the 50s, and again in the 70s, and again in the late 90s. But so with that said, I'm going to try to piece together some Braves talk. I know that usually Steven and I like to go back and forth on this, but with Steven not being able to make today's meeting or today's video, it's a Zoom meeting, but with him not being able to make it, me kind of screwing the pooch. I'm just gonna go ahead and try to piece something together for you guys here and try to make it at least bearable. So today we're going to talk about the Braves. We're going to finish up the NL East. I'm going to give you my predictions here in the video, and then we'll post our predictions, and you guys will get to see Steven's predictions first when we tweet it out and send it out on Facebook and stuff like that. So the Atlanta Braves finished 35-25 last season. They won the NL East. They almost made it to the World Series if it wasn't for the juggernaut Dodgers, um, who today actually got a little bit better. But I'll talk about that at some point. The Braves, some of their free agent guys that they originally, some of the free agent guys they looked to miss out on, players like Adam Duvall, Tyler Flowers, Mark Melanson, Cole Hamels, and a longtime Brave Nick Markakis. Nothing too big, nothing nothing that they're really going to miss all that much. Someone else who was originally planned to add to this list, Marcell Ozuna. As of recording, he has signed a 4-year contract with the Braves with a potential for a fifth year. He could make north of $80 million guaranteed. So he figures to play into the Braves here at some point come the season. But yeah, it looks like they will be retaining Marcell Ozuna, easily their biggest free agent that they still had to bring back, and they were, which is a great thing for the Braves. They definitely are going to get a lot of use out of his bat. I think he might almost be someone who can kind of push off Christian Patchy's rise. I know that Patchy he had a decent season last year, and I know that their outfield looks pretty good as it is right now. I know that there's probably no plans for a DH to make any sort of play in this season. So they'll have to find somewhere for Ozuna to play. They could maybe move NCRT, maybe move Acuna to center field to try to get Ozuna in one of those corner outfield roles. I know that in his early days with the Miami Marlins, he did play a little bit of center field, not much, but he did play a little bit of it. So that I doubt that at this point in his career he's going to play any, but that could be something to keep an eye on. Some of the other offseason additions that they've made, guys like Erie Adrianza, who figures to be a backup infield for them. Abraham Almonte, he figures to probably be some backup depth for them. They brought in Charlie Morton from the Rays. He figures to probably be their ace, if not their number 2 guy moving into the season. Drew Smiley, they took a waiver on him. He could be a sneaky good addition. Not too long ago, he was a relatively good starting pitcher in this league. Not to say that he's fallen off, but it will be interesting to see what he can offer moving forward for this Braves team. So yeah, not too big of an offseason. Charlie Morton and obviously bringing back Marcell Ozuna, probably the 2 biggest moves that this team has made. Other than that, they figured to be relatively the same team, which isn't a bad thing. They're still a very dangerous team, and they figured to give the Braves or the Dodgers a lot of run for their money. So with their offseason pretty much set in stone, having brought back Marcell Ozuna, we'll go ahead and jump into their lineup. Now, like I said, as of recording, they just got him back. So I'm going to have to kind of patchwork this together. I didn't have Ozuna originally in here. So with my lineup, I've got Ronald Acuna as the leadoff hitter, playing in center field now instead of right field. I think Acuna is probably the best capable out of the outfielders that they have right now to play center field. He's an uber talent, figures to be one of the best players in the league again, as he has been the past couple of years that he's been in the league. He's going to figure to hit 300. He's going to figure probably to come close to a 30-30 season, maybe even a 40-40 season. And he could very well win a Gold Glove this year as well. He's a phenom everywhere on the field, and I think he continues to do that for them moving forward. Someone to keep an eye on is Dansby Swanson, their shortstop. I have him hitting second. In his career, he was drafted very high by the Diamondbacks, and was kind of expected to be like their guy, taken first overall. Obviously, he was kind of expected to be like their guy long term. He had that hype surrounding him. Excuse me, but they dealt him very, very shortly after he got drafted to Atlanta, and he's kind of failed to live up to the hype to this point. Nothing personal against him, but a 249 career batting average. It looked like he kind of has started to figure it out the last 2 years. He's put up respectable batting averages. Had a 251 batting average with 17 home runs and 65 RBIs in 2019, and backed that up with a nice 274 batting average, 10 home runs, and 35 RBIs last season. He actually led the league in at-bats, so it's nice that they can get that, not only some quality at-bats from him, but just a good quantity of at-bats as well. It'll be very important to see him continue to rise in his success. He's still very young. He's still very talented. And this could be a very big breakout year for him moving forward. In the 3 hole, I have the NL MVP winner, Freddie Freeman. He's, there's not much really you're going to say about him. He's one of the best hitters in the league perennially. He has been for a while. I think his MVP was long overdue. He's had 2 seasons before this where he finished top 10 in MVP. Last year, there was a good opportunity for him to win MVP. Him finishing 8th, 2019, him finishing 8th in the MVP that year was kind of a shock. I know, at least as far as the fans were going, he was very much in the running for MVP. So to see him not even finish in the top 5 is very intriguing. But he figures to be, assuming we have a full season, he probably figures to be I don't know, his typical self, another 35 home runs, probably going to drive in around 100 runs. He's going to hit just right around 300, if not maybe a little higher, as high as 320, maybe even. He figures to be, like I said, just that guy. He figures to be that guy for the lineup. I couldn't imagine having to face Acuna and Freeman back to back, but the Braves really do like Acuna being the leadoff hitter. Hitting fourth for the Braves, I have Austin Riley. He 2 years ago in 2019, he had a big breakout season. He kind of like when he first came up, he was just hitting home runs everywhere. No one really knew what to think of it. No one really knew what to make of it. He was just kind of he was remarkable, to say the least. He was like from the time he got called up, like I can't stress enough how great he was. He was hitting 356 the month he got called up, 7 home runs, 20 RBIs. He was essentially it came out of nowhere. It's not like he was not a prospect going into last season, but he definitely wasn't, a super hyped prospect. His season that he ended with was less than ideal. He had some struggles getting on base. He had some struggles hitting, but he's one of those guys that if he can make contact, he's going to send it a long way. So I like him as their third baseman moving forward, hitting in the 4 hole. I like Ozzie Albies as the number 5 hitter, playing second base. He's about as rock steady as they come. He's going to give you a 280, 290 batting average, hit a couple home runs, and be really slick with the glove. I like Ozzie Albies a lot. I've been a fan of him. He was kind of their big, not Ronald Acuna-esque, but probably like the next tier down in terms of hype that they had surrounding him. And he got called up the year before Ronald Acuna, but he figures to be a very big key role for them moving forward. In the 5 hole, in the 6 hole, I have Ender Inciarte playing left field. Inciarte, he's probably one of the more veteran leaders for this team as it looks at it, presumably having lost Nick Markakis. Ender Inciarte figures to probably be right up there with Freddie Freeman as the leaders for this team, at least hitting wise. Ender Inciarte, he's going to give you a good season. He's going to hit, 20-ish home runs. He's going to hit right around 280, 290. He's another good defender. That's something that this Brave team does really well, is defending. And moving forward, with them pretty much retaining the same lineup as they've had the last year or two, I figure that plans on probably being the case. Now, hitting 7th is Travis d'Arnaud, their catcher, and he's someone to keep an eye on for sure. Travis d'Arnaud kind of broke out the last year and a half. He hit really, really well last year. Had a batting average right around or just over 300. Still regarded as one of the better defensive catchers in the league. And his bat has really started to shape up and come alive. And it'll be really interesting to see, especially with him really not having much competition at the catcher position. It'll be really interesting to see if he can kind of settle into a role finally and really blossom. I think the Braves are going to be really excited to see what d'Arnaud can bring to them in another full season, presumably another full season. To this point, they've only got 44 games out of him, but he hit 321, as I mentioned, 9 home runs, 34 RBIs. And this is a guy who before last season had never hit above 270 and had only hit above 250 3 times, dating back to his New York Mets days. I believe he was actually one of the prospects that went to New York in part of the R.A. Dickey trade, which sent R.A. Dickey from the Mets to the Blue Jays. He was one of the catcher prospects for the Blue Jays at the time. So he was part of the Mets team he was on the Mets team during their 2015 World Series run in their presumable fall afterwards. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of transcend what he's become. He's kind of formed a mold. He's going to hit you, 15, 16 home runs. He's never hit more than 16 in a season. He's never had 70 RBIs in a season. And like I said, before this season, he had never hit 270. So it'll be interesting to see if 2020 was a mirage and he was just one of the beneficiaries from the shortened season, or if he's actually breaking out right in front of our eyes and he figures to be a big time bat for them moving forward. If he is, he could really realistically move up in this lineup. I'm sure the Braves wouldn't have much problem moving down Inciarte, Albies, or Riley, given the circumstances, especially if d'Arnaud is going to continue hitting 321. Like, my goodness, imagine getting a 320 batting average from a catcher on a yearly basis. Like, not even JT Real Muto is going to get you that. So if he can even come close to the type of performance he put up last season, I think the Braves are going to be in a great spot in terms of catcher. And then in the 8-hole, playing right field now, excuse me. I am going to slot Marcell Ozuna in there. I know he was their DH last season, and should by some miracle the MLB decide to implement the universal DH, if they work out a deal, I guess, or they work out a separate deal to get the DH in the NL again. Marcell Ozuna is going to slot right back in there. He's not a great outfielder, but he is serviceable. I've seen him in person before. He's not as bad as it looks. I'm not sure where the stigma has come from, but it's unfortunate to hear. Yeah, you can look at his advanced metrics, and I'm sure a lot of those numbers are kind of going to pop out as like, oh wow, like he, not a great fielder. And while those are true, he's not a great fielder. He is an okay fielder, and he's played all three outfield positions. I think it's possible that they keep Acuna in right field and move Inciarte to center. Maybe it's possible to move Inciarte to right and move Acuna to center to keep Ozuna in left field. I know he's played more left field than he has right field, but I don't know. I'm just kind of tossing him in there. Obviously, with how much money they're going to pay him, they're going to have to find a spot for him in the lineup somewhere. And I figured right field, at least you get to keep Inciarte in the position he's played a lot of recently, which is left field. So it'll be interesting to see where they slot him in at, but he's definitely going to be in this lineup somewhere, rest assured. Even if they have to move his position entirely and try to find him some role. Maybe they try to do something with someone to play third base in exchange for Austin Riley to take up a bench role or something. But, Ozuna is a guy they're going to try to get in there, rest assured. So with that said, usually at this point, I would get Steven's input as far as their lineup for him. He's welcome. He's probably going to post his lineup, his rotation and stuff like that on Twitter and on Facebook as well. But unfortunately, like I said, according to my goof, that's not possible in the video. So I'm just going to jump into their bench. I like Alex Jackson as their backup catcher. Like I said, he's not much of a competition for d'Arnaud, but I think he's a good complement to him. A good defense first catcher is always nice to have on the team. Pablo Sandoval, they re-signed, I believe, to a minor league deal with an invite to spring training. And yes, that is that Pablo Sandoval, the guy who, was essentially the face of the 2010 through the 2014 San Francisco Giants World Series teams that they had. He's kind of fallen out of the limelight. He went to Boston on a big deal. That didn't work out. He went back and played in some San Francisco, and now he's been in Atlanta. He was in Atlanta last year. Kind of turned into a cult classic. Just kind of a term I like to use. He's grown a fan base in Atlanta, and from what I've been able to glean, a lot of Braves fans are happy that he's back. if you're a Braves fan, let me know what you think of Pablo Sandoval. Maybe you're kind of on that Panda Express as well, so to speak. But yeah, I like Pablo Sandoval. He can play some first. He can play some third. I don't know how much third he's going to be able to play. I think he's more likely to play mostly first base, but he's a nice backup for Freeman and Riley. Probably not much of a threat to garner any starting games besides to give Freeman a break maybe, or give Riley a break. But he probably figures to make the team at the very least. Erie Adrianza, I might be butchering his first name. My apologies if I am. But Erie Adrianza figures to be a good infield, outfield depth option for them. They just picked him up in free agency. And he figures to play a role there as well somewhere. And another guy who's kind of in the same boat, same player comp, same role, same kind of build even, is Johan Camargo, a guy who's been with the Braves for a few years now. He had some looks like he was maybe going to break out and garner an everyday role. I think that's still possible, but I think they value him too much as a super utility guy like Adrianza plans to be. And I think he's going to see some time all over the field. I think he's going to spell some guys at a few positions on some pretty regular basis, especially the older veterans of the team. He figures to get some starting time for. And then Abraham Almonte, another one of their offseason additions. He, I believe, is also a non-roster invite. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. I know that he's not a great player, but he could still offer some depth for them moving forward. So as far as their hitters look, I like it. It's a dangerous lineup all over the field. They've got guys who are great on base percentage guys. They have guys who can steal bases. They have guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. I think it's impossible to see this team without their center field prospect, Christian Pache. I might be butchering his name. It might be Pache or something like that. But it's impossible to see this team without Christian Pache playing some role in it, whether it be as a bench piece or maybe trade bait. It's also possible that he could be, probably their number 4 outfielder, which could honestly almost move Abraham Almonte to the minor leagues or back to free agency. I think the spring training, how the spring training shakes out for that team, I think will probably determine what they end up with. So we'll go ahead and jump over to their bullpen now. And the Braves the Braves rotation figures to be relatively similar to what it looked like last year. They have 2 new faces, but 2 faces who can fit into this team pretty well. Charlie Morton, who, like I said, they acquired from in free agency from the Tampa Bay Rays. Charlie Morton has really gone through a career revival ever since he started playing for Houston back in 2018. He posted 3 straight phenomenal seasons, 2 of which in 2017 and 18 with Houston, and then in 2019 with Tampa Bay. Last year, he kind of fell back a little bit. He had a little bit of an injury woe there at some point in the season, but he still finished with a 4.74 ERA and 9 starts in a very, very hot and heated and competitive AL East. So, you can kind of discredit the short season like that. He figures to probably have another ERA right around 3, maybe 3.5 at most. But Charlie Morton figures to be it's gonna be a nice welcome home. As if you may not know, Charlie Morton began his major league career in 2008 with the Atlanta Braves. He was actually drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the 3rd round back in 2002. So a very, very long career, a very successful career for Morton. And he figures to probably, I think it's very likely he finishes his career here in Atlanta, whether it be this year, whether he signs up for another year and finishes that way. The end is definitely nigh for Charlie Morton, but as of right now, there's no reason to believe he's not going to be a very successful piece for the Braves moving forward. In their number 2 hole for pitchers, I have the lefty Max Fried. He kind of blew up last year, really successful, really quickly. Max Fried plans to. I think it's very possible that they like Fried enough to give him the opening day job over Charlie Morton. I know they have a lot invested in terms of short-term money in Charlie Morton, but Max Fried did finish last season perfect 7-0 in his 11 starts with a 2.25 ERA. The man was nearly untouchable. So he figures to. You could almost make it a toss-up, whether it'll be Morton or Fried. The way my rotation is set up, I have it going righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. So I kind of set it up that way. It is very possible that they go left, right, right, left, right, to round out their rotation. They're not a team that really needs to play kind of sabermetrics ball like that to kind of match up lefty righties. But I don't know. I kind of tossed it up that way. I like Max Fried a lot. I think he's got a bright future in the league. So I think I have him set as a close number 2. Very possibly could be the leader of that staff, though. Another guy, this guy you got to keep an eye on for, Ian Anderson. I have him in the number 3 hole in my rotation, and he's a guy that I've followed since he was like 19. Ian Anderson's been knocking on the door for a couple years now. And, thanks to kind of how last season went, he was able to knock that door down. And holy smokes, did he knock that door down. He only made 6 starts, but he finished with a 1.95 ERA. The dude, like I said, was just like Max Fried, was nearly untouchable. It's hard to put into words just how good he was. Didn't give up many base runners, only a 1.082 whip. Obviously, that 1.95 ERA sticks out a lot. Didn't walk many guys, only 14 walks and 32 and a third. He had 41 strikeouts. That's a 11.4 K per 9. And to think that he only finished 7th in the Rookie of the Year voting for the number 3 overall pick, I think that's just the beginning. Ian Anderson figures to be a big player for this rotation. Obviously, I think it's probably foolish to expect another sub-2 ERA from a soon-to-be 23-year-old. He'll be 23 in May. I think it'd be foolish to expect that from him. But I think if he can give you an ERA under 4, especially if he gives you an ERA under 3.5, maybe 3.25, it's gonna be very successful. And it might not matter who the Dodgers just picked up in free agency. The Braves may be the ones holding the trophy come late October. In the number 4 hole, I have Drew Smyly, who, as some of you might know, played a pretty integral part in the 2017, I believe, U.S. national team in the World Baseball Classic. Drew Smyly was one of those guys. At that time, he was really looking like one of the better pitchers up and coming in baseball. Since then, he's kind of had some injury woes. He's kind of had some down years. After he was moved from Tampa Bay, he didn't see action at all in 2017 or 18 due to injuries and misfortune. 2019, he attempted a comeback, 6.24 ERA. With Texas and Philadelphia combined, although his Texas numbers were a lot worse. 8.42 ERA in 13 appearances, 9 starts, and a much more respectable 4.45 ERA in 12 starts with Philadelphia. That was kind of the turning point, actually, for Smyly, because last season, in his brief time with San Francisco, he had 7 appearances, 5 starts, and he had a 3.42 ERA. Now, what really stands out is for a guy who has never been a big strikeout guy, going into last season, he had a career K per 9 of 8.8. So he wasn't even striking out 9 guys per 9 innings. But last season, he put up a 14.4 K per nine. The man was incredible and really wasn't talked about that much. 42 strikeouts and 26 in the third innings. He turned it on and he turned it up. A whip of 1.101, an FIP, fielding independent pitching of 2.01. So that ERA could very easily come down, and which is why I was talking about, he's kind of a guy you have to look out for. He may have had a career revival in, like I said, Philadelphia and San Francisco. I like Drew Smiley a lot. He'll be 32 in June, so he's not old. He's still, right in that prime in terms of physical peak. So this could be a sneaky good pickup for the Braves moving forward. I like this move a lot. Now, Kyle Wright figures to be their fifth guy, and Kyle Wright is a younger pitcher. Hasn't been incredible in his short time in the majors, but he's been all right. He owns a career 6.22 ERA. Last year, in his 8 starts, he had a 5.21 ERA. So, like I said, still has a lot of kinks to work out. He's only 24. He just turned 25 back in October, so this will be his age 25 season. Number 5 overall pick back in 2017. Just goes to show how great of a job the Braves have done drafting in recent years. You look at their team, Freddie Freeman and Charlie Morton, Max Fried, Ian Anderson, and now Kyle Wright. A lot of guys. I know Charlie Morton never ended up playing more than a few games for the Braves, but they've done a great job drafting, and they figured to continue doing that even while being successful. They've still been able to do it. But back to Kyle Wright. Like I said, a 5.25 ERA. He's not a big strikeout guy. Owns a 7.5 K per nine in his career. He had a 7.1 this past season. His fielding independent pitching is actually slightly higher than his ERA. So that's kind of it's definitely he's had a very limited career to this point. 19 games, 12 starts. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm willing to see what he can do. I think there's a possibility that he might be on a short leash in 2021. It's also possible that maybe they like someone else to kind of be that fifth starter to give him, whether it be some more bullpen time to figure his pitches out or figure out how to get batters out, maybe even figure out how to strike batters out more often than he does. I think it's also possible that they kind of let him be, the fifth guy in the rotation. He's got 4 guys ahead of him who all figure to have good, if not great, seasons. So I think it's very possible that they give him the benefit of the doubt, let him kind of grow on his own in the 5th hole, and really just kind of, if he, blows up again, then you can always, make a move, send him down, send him to the bullpen, do whatever. But if I'm the general manager, I think I would give Kyle Wright the opportunity to start this season out. He's another guy that I think spring training will show us a lot about who he is, and not necessarily what his ceiling is, but I think this is going to be a great opportunity for him to kind of go out there and show what he's got, show what he's been working on this offseason, and maybe he does win a job. It'll be interesting to see. But that rotation 1 through 4, I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think whatever they go with in the 5 spot, they're going to end up getting probably league average, maybe just above it in terms of production. So this figures to be one of the 2 or 3 best rotations in baseball moving forward. And with that done, we will jump over to their bullpen. Their bullpen's a little weird. Now, according to Fangraphs, they like the journeyman Chris Martin to be their potential closer moving forward. Chris Martin is a former Rocky, a former Yankee. He went overseas and pitched for a couple years, came back. He has had some success in his return to the States. But I think they have more I think they have more qualified guys as closers. I think he would be much more fit as a middle relief or maybe even a setup guy if they feel that high about him. I like Will Smith or Luke Jackson more as a closer. I would probably, I mean, I guess if they do like him as a potential closer role, they could always go maybe a closer by committee if they feel that strongly about all three of those guys. They could use spring training as an opportunity to give each of them some closing opportunities and kind of see who can take advantage, who can run away with it, so to speak. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how they set up that bullpen. They have some good pieces, as I already mentioned, Chris Martin, the lefty, Will Smith, and Luke Jackson. They also have a couple extra lefties, AJ Minter, the former Rockies starting pitcher, Tyler Matzek. Tyler Matzek was a guy that I was pretty high on when he debuted with the Rockies. He looked like he could be a good, tall lefty starting pitcher for the Rockies. I believe that was back in like 2012, 2013. I really liked it. I thought he was a great fit for them, but kind of like what a lot of other guys have done, kind of fizzled out a little bit in the high Rocky Mountains. But I am glad to see that he's made a bit of a career revival as a bullpen arm, and I figure he's going to probably be not a crucial component of this Braves bullpen, but he does figure to be a good component at the very least. They also have a young lefty, Grant Dayton. He figures to probably play a role in this bullpen somewhere. They got the veteran Josh Tomlin, and they also signed 2 non-roster invites, and Carl Edwards Jr., the former Cubs and Mariners relief pitcher, Carl Edwards Jr., and Victor Arano, formerly of the Philadelphia Phillies. Those are 2 guys that I would absolutely keep an eye on moving forward. They both had success in the past as bullpen arms. I think it's very possible that they could both play key roles in this bullpen moving forward. I like both of those guys. I think those are great pickups, great sneaky pickups. Like recently, the New York Yankees picked up Kyle Bearclaw. That's a name most people probably haven't heard for a couple years. He was the great, I won't say great, but he was the really good Marlins relief pitcher in recent years. Has struggled a bit, but that's kind of where I see Carl Edwards Jr. and Victor Arano playing a role. I think they're going to be very sneaky, very good. I could see ERAs below 3 for both of them. They've both done it before. They've both been, high quality relief pitchers, to say the least. So looking at their bullpen at the macro level, I like it. I like it a lot. I think they could benefit maybe from another guy, another big name guy. I think if that would be kind of like the icing on the cake, so to speak. I think it's plenty fine if they move forward with what they got. But as you know, you can always upgrade your bullpen somewhere. So I think if they could, they should. But I wouldn't go out of your way to try to make it happen. Now, briefly, I'm going to go over a few prospects that I like. 2 of these guys have seen major league talent, or have seen major league. They've seen major league games. Both relatively younger guys. One of them is William Contreras, the younger brother of Cubs starting catcher Wilson Contreras. William recently was the number 4 prospect in the system for the Braves, the number 113 prospect overall. He played 4 games in 2020. So as I mentioned, a very brief stint. He's only 22. He's a career 279, his career slash, I should say, is 279, 345, 402 in the minors. And what's interesting, and this will play into where I think he'll start the season out at, he has yet to make an appearance in AAA, which is surprising to say the least. I figure that had a 2020 minor league season been played, I believe he would have started and probably finished out the year in AAA. It's the highest he's ever reached is AA. And while he was there, he was a decent hitter. His 4 games weren't that weren't that fantastic. But like I said, it's just 4 games. Even in a COVID shortened season, you can't even take it with a grain of salt. There's no salt to take it with. I like him a lot. I think he could be the future catcher for the Braves. He's got offensive potential. Obviously, it would be nice to see his slugging percentage go a little higher. Uh, Realistically, you know, a 500 slugging percentage would be nice to see from him. A 402 is not bad, but having only faced minor league guys in his career, I would like to see that up just a smidge. If I could nitpick just a little bit, I wouldn't mind seeing that go up just a tiny bit. Other than that, a 279, 345, those are both good numbers. He's not a big home run hitter. He's got a nice frame. 6 foot, 200 pounds. I figure should probably gain another 15 pounds over the course of his career. If he does have like a long major league career, I figure he probably will gain another couple pounds in terms of muscle. But I like where he's at right now. He's physically gifted behind the plate. As I mentioned, he's got a good frame, and looking forward for him, I definitely see him playing a role in spring training for the Braves. And I think only if he absolutely plays on fire, like absolutely on fire, will he see a major league opening day roster. Other than that, I think it's a 90% possibility that he starts the season in AAA just to get him some more seasoning, get him some advanced competition in AAA without having to worry about how is he affecting our major league club. Because obviously, I don't think there's a chance he overtakes Travis d'Arnaud. So you'd almost kind of waste his talent having him as the bench piece for the Braves in 2021. So that's the first guy, William Contreras. Now, someone who could be his battery mate and has been his battery mate before is Touki Toussaint, starting pitcher. His pre-2019 prospect rankings had him number 8 in the Brave system and number 57 overall in the league. He's still only 24. And unfortunately, the thing is for Toussaint is he's an inefficient strike thrower. His whole career in the major leagues has been riddled with walks. I got to watch him on TV just this past season in a game where the Braves have played the Yankees in Atlanta, I believe. And unfortunately, I was actually rooting for him. I was rooting for the Yankees to win, but I wanted it to be a pitching duel because I really want Touki Toussaint to thrive, and I really want him to someday be the ace of a staff somewhere. But unfortunately, he kind of got shelled pretty hard. He had some walks, he had some wild throws. Very, very inefficient strike thrower. And what's weird is that obviously, in a normal circumstance, you'd say, all right, maybe he's not fleshed out to be a long-term starting pitcher. You can move him to the bullpen, and you'll probably get, semi-good production from him moving forward. But he's got too many good pitches. He's got like 5 or 6 pitches that he throws and throws well. They're just not. He's just missing that control. So I think he's got too many good pitches to not necessarily waste his talent in the bullpen, but maybe it would benefit him. Maybe it would benefit him having a whole slew of pitches. You could go multiple innings, and guys wouldn't know what to see because he can. It's a common routine for pitchers to use 1 or 2 pitches for the first time through the lineup, just to kind of get him dominated. So I think it is possible that he could play in the bullpen, but if he is going to play in the bullpen, he's going to have to do a little better than what he has. He owns a career 5.97 in ERA, 38 career games, 11 starts. He does have a 10.1 K per 9, which is a plus, about the only plus that he has, unfortunately. He owns a 6.29 ERA as a starting pitcher and a 5.63 ERA as a relief pitcher. Now, really the only difference between those two numbers is a 5.63 is bad. and a 6'2" is worse. So that's about the only difference between that. And it's not like he's been unlucky. He owns a 5.11 fielding independent pitching. So he leaves too many guys on base. And he gives up too many home runs, too many hard hit balls around the infield and around the outfield. But he is still really talented. If you can get his confidence up, I think that could almost work. Strike throwing is very mental. He wouldn't be in this position he's in right now if he couldn't throw strikes throughout his younger life. I believe that there was a time when he was really good throwing strikes, and somewhere along the line, he probably had, whether it be a rough week, a rough month, or even a rough year, and that has kind of snowballed. Now, this is just speculation from me. I've never pitched professionally. My pitching career consists of a few outings in Little League as a relief pitcher. So I'm probably the least qualified person you can ask with baseball knowledge about pitcher yips. But I've seen it before. Guys like Dontrelle Willis come to mind. I know Willis had some mental issues that he was fighting with, but it is a lot of confidence. And sort of, if you lose that confidence, it's very easy to let it snowball and roll downhill on you. And I feel like that might be what's going on with Toussaint. He's very talented, very talented. So I look for him to probably start the season in AAA, to continue getting him some more work. As I mentioned, he's only 24. He's still young, still a prospect, and he's still got a bright future ahead of him if he can turn around his control. Now I'm going to move on to an outfielder by the name of Drew Waters. He's a switch hitting 22-year-old, 6'2", 180 pounds. He's got a good frame. He's a tooled up center fielder. Unfortunately, he does in his minor league career have a lot of strikeouts. That's something he definitely has to work on. He's the number 3 Braves prospect, the number 69 prospect overall in major leagues. As I mentioned, he's tooled up. He's got lots of speed. He's got some power, some sneaky power. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of continues to develop. But his minor league career is a 298, 354, 461 slash line hitter. 298 is really good. If you can get a minor league player, especially a high end prospect like Waters is, if you can get a 300 batting average out of him in the minor leagues, then you can know pretty much that he's gotten to a point where he's comfortable hitting minor league pitchers. He can dominate a lot of minor league pitchers that he faces, and he might be ready for major league talent. He's got, like I mentioned, good speed. He can steal bases left, right, and center. I believe that his bat still does need a little bit of seasoning. Some more AAA time is likely needed. It is possible he makes his debut in 2021. With Ozuna signing, I see him more as an injury insurance. With him still only being 22, they're in no rush to get him up to the major league team early, like they could. In some circumstances, maybe they do bring him up, but their outfield is pretty much stacked as it is, with Ozuna, Acuna, Enciarte, Pachi, and then especially if you add in the super utility roles of Adrianza and Camargo. He might not get any playing time this season in the major leagues, which isn't a bad thing. He could very, very well start the season out in AAA and end the season in AAA, and it wouldn't even be a bad thing. If anything, all that extra seasoning, all that extra time could be a plus for him moving forward and could lead him to, potentially making a major league opening day roster next year, and playing a full season, especially if they feel like moving on from Enciarte, or someone moves a position to somewhere. They definitely have a log jam. It's a good log jam. It's a good problem to have. A lot of depth for your outfield is always very important, especially when it's quality depth. Adrianza and Camargo could be starters on other teams. excuse me, as it sits right now, Drew Waters could probably be a starting outfielder for a few teams. And even Christian Patchy could be a starting outfielder for a few teams in the league as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out for them overall. That's going to lead me to kind of dive into my predictions for the season, how it's going to play out, how I expect it to go down. I still like the Braves winning the division. To give you my projections, I do expect the Braves to win somewhere between 92 and 100 games. I think 100's a ceiling. I don't see them losing any more than 90. Or I don't see them winning any fewer than 92. I do that every day. I don't know why. I don't see them winning fewer than 92 games, but I think 100 is definitely their ceiling. I do have them at a 98-64 record, and I have them winning the NL East, and it's anyone's game in the postseason. That's been proven year after year. So maybe when we're all said and done here with our predictions, maybe we'll go through and offer up some predictions for the postseason. I don't know. I'll talk to Steven about that. But I like the Braves to go 98-64, win the division. In second place, I like the New York Mets to go 92-70 and clinch probably the second wild card in the NL. Had they been able to land Trevor Bauer, I know that yesterday it seemed like a possibility, seemed almost likely, and at one point it seemed done. But unfortunately, he kind of used that as leverage and has, I'll say, irked a few Mets fans a little bit, and a few people in the Mets front office as well. So even with that said, we went over the Braves a couple days ago, we went over the Mets a couple of days ago. I'd like them to go 92-70 and clinch the second wild card spot. In third place, I like the Philadelphia Phillies to go 88-74. I figure they'll be very competitive. It's very possible. Originally, I had the Phillies in second place, but my gut kind of went against me, and I decided to move the Mets up one and the Phillies down one. It's very possible those two could switch roles, but I do have the Phillies at 88-74 projected standings, and just missing the postseason by 4 games. What's funny is I also have the Washington Nationals finishing 88-74 as well. The NL East would not be complete if you didn't have a whole bunch of teams finish with nearly the same record. It seems like a year in, year out thing. They're kind of like the NFC East in the NFL, where all the teams are competitive with each other. No one really likes each other in that division, regardless of standings and regardless of record. All 5 of those teams really aren't that friendly with each other. So I do like the Nationals finishing with an 88-74 record. Might be a little high in some people's eyes, maybe a little low in other people's eyes. I think it's possible that, like the Phillies, they could boost their standings a little bit by potentially adding at the trade deadline if they can find a good piece to add, whether it be in the rotation or the lineup. I think it is possible that they could boost their standings a little bit. And rounding out the division, I have the Miami Marlins finishing with a 73-89 record. It's not terrible. That's obviously, not what Marlins fans are probably expecting to see after they, miraculously made the postseason last year. Maybe they're expecting the team, maybe not expecting, but hoping that the team is successful again this year. I just don't see it. They're still just too young, too raw, I'll say, to go ahead and in a full 162 game regular season, I think it's just too much to give them a winning record at this point. Make of it what you will. That's where I have the teams set up. I think it's going to be a great division. I think it's going to be one of the two or three best divisions in baseball, right up there with the AL East. Probably the NL West. I know the Dodgers just signed Trevor Bauer to a big contract, short contract, but a lot of money. I think it's something like $40 million a year. He's he's going to make over the course of his contract what some teams spend yearly on their salaries for the team. So yeah, that's going to make the Braves, or sorry, that's going to make the Dodgers some sort of juggernaut. I mean, you look at their rotation now: Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, Julio Urias, and don't forget who they're getting back this year, David Price. Like, holy smokes, are they going to be stacked? And you add in that lineup, oh my, oh my, oh my. But yeah, with that said, thank you for sticking with me. This is something I've never done before. I've never recorded like a solo podcast. It is my fault that we're recording a solo podcast, and I do apologize for that. If you guys kind of have like a routine, we're going to get this up to you guys probably tonight, maybe very early Saturday morning. At the latest. It depends on how long it takes to edit and render this for me. But yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming along with this ride and dealing with my bumbling self, kind of stumbling around my notes and so forth. But I do appreciate it. I appreciate your guys's your support, and I appreciate you sticking put with us. Kind of our first big hurdle here. But we'll get through it. We're going to continue going through this, and more importantly, we'll continue getting better. That's kind of the key here. Is every day we're discovering new ideas. We might actually have something special planned for you guys come Monday, so stay tuned for that. Something very special indeed. Maybe even two something specials. Like you guys have been great reading our stuff. We're getting some likes on YouTube. Everything's going pretty well for us, and like I said, we really appreciate it. You guys have you guys been listening to us, watching us every day. We've been getting somewhere around 15 to 20 of you guys. I appreciate and I love all 15 to 20 of you guys. Even if you just tune in to listen to what we say at the very end to see where we rank out in terms of like how we see that team performing, or whether you feel like listening to my bumbling self go on and on about topics. It's kind of my thing. But with that said, I promise I won't say but anymore today. I'll let you guys go. I appreciate you guys sticking around. If you have, you can follow us on Facebook. Our username is Dugout Talk, or you can search us at Real Dugout Talk. Our Twitter is at Dugout Talk 1. You can find us here on YouTube, Dugout Talk. Maybe we'll start an Instagram and a TikTok. Who knows? Kind of my forte on TikTok. I'm really active on it. So maybe we'll start making some videos for you guys. I don't know. Let us know what you guys think in the comments or on the Twitters and the Facebooks, and we'll get back to you about it. Anyways, I appreciate your time. You guys have a great evening, great weekend, and Steven and I will see you bright and early on Monday morning. See you guys. As always, it's me, Cameron Lingle, but see you guys.